anywhere, anytime on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Also, be sure to give us a follow or shout out on Twitter at FC Sports Talk or complain about us to the boss at I'm Dr. Artman. Today, assuming we have IP back eventually, we're going to recap everything you missed from a very busy week in the OHL.
And there he is.
Is he here?
Hey, guys.
Oh, my gosh. IP is back with us. How are you, sir?
I am well. I apologize.
Better than us. Great.
My voice, but it's been a good weekend. I promise that I didn't lose my voice cheering for Rory at the Masters yesterday, but oh my gosh, that was crazy.
Tell me about it, or later in the show, because I didn't watch a second of golf. I was busy watching the paint dry in my bathroom.
Well, and you were also busy getting ready for to show off the official baby boy. I see.
Oh. Yes, absolutely. We did that. So we did that Thursday night. That was so much fun. I'll show you the video, but my wife was a college tennis player, and Amazon sells those powder-filled like gender reveal tennis balls. So we got a set of those. She was the only one in the entire family who knew. We got everybody together at the house, and she just smacked the crap out of a tennis ball. And blue powder and glitter and flake went everywhere. It's still all over my yard. It's still on the cars. It was in people's hair, but it was fantastic, and I'm very excited to have a future first-round pick joining us in October.
Congratulations to you, man. What an exciting thing. And I'll tell you what, your wife, even while pregnant, could kick the crap out of 99% of tennis players. That was a mean forehand reveal, I'll tell you what.
I made fun of her a little bit. We're a few minutes ahead of the thing. I said, do you want to warm up at all? I was like, you haven't really hit one competitively in front of people in like 7-8 years. She was like, shut up, I'm going to be fine. It's like, all right, I hope you do well. So yeah, she did great, man.
Nice.
Thank you. All right, let's should we get into some actual sports talk, or do you want me to just keep talking about her tennis career? Because I could go on for an hour.
Let's do it. I mean, you know what? I'll tell you what. One of these days, we just need to have like a kids talk show. When your son is born, is old enough, and my two kids are old enough to be able to have fluent conversations. We just have them all on and let them do the hosting.
I love it. That sounds like a great idea. We're a few years away from that, but
yeah,
it's coming sooner than you think, I'm sure. All right, let's. I'm going to talk some track. Isaac, you've got some baseball, and then we've got the 2-minute drill and an absolutely loaded A block. So let's not waste any more time here. Harbor Creek Track and Field. The Invitational was over the weekend. We saw 5 meet records set in the miserable cold and damp on Saturday morning. Fort LaBeouf's boys team won the Harbor Creek Invitational with 99 total points. They edged McDowell by 12. Junior Mason Friedman led the Bison, tossing the javelin 142 feet 7 inches. His older sister, by the way, had a heck of a weekend for Penn State. We'll get into that later. Mercyhurst Prep's Vinny Feliciano, Vinny the Don Feliciano, swept the 100 and 200 meters with times of 11.69 and 22.82. He can fly. While his teammate Carson Mertz dominated in the field events, winning the shot put with a distance of 51 feet 9 inches and a discus toss of 143 feet 5 inches. Incredible. On the girls' side, and I could talk for a while about this, the Aspire Academy from Ohio came and just whooped everybody. It was incredible to watch. They took the top honors with 122 total points, setting 4 meet records in the process. Katia Rock broke the 200 record at 24:57. Then Brooklyn Taylor set 2 records. A new mark in the 100 hurdles at 14.62 and a long jump record of 18 feet, 8.5 inches. And then Spire's 4x1 team ran a new record, 47.74. That they beat a couple of boys teams. So incredible there. The other meet record came in the boys 4x4 with Lakeview poised at a time of 3 minutes, 29.88 seconds. Other notable winners in the meet Saturday included McDowell's Isabella Hebner and the girls 1600 with a sub 6 minute mile, 5:44.7. And Bradford's Braden Frere, who won both the boys 800 and the 1600. Isaac, you've got some baseball, softball news. We have some really good teams hot out of the gate. Tell me about them.
Yeah, I just think it's interesting, and I wanted to touch on this point this morning because I think, in the beginning of the baseball, softball season, we know weather's always an issue, right? We're going to have snow on Wednesday, so we don't really get a chance early in the season to see who's going to be the, cream of the crop, the prima donna, if you will, of baseball. I've just been fascinated, though, Paul, as to what we've seen so far coming out of Region 5 and Region 6. You've got two undefeated teams right now in Region 5 in Girard and Northeast. And keep in mind, these are two teams right now that are not perennially, at least not in the last few years, top-tier teams. Girard's sitting there at 5-0. Northeast has won 8 straight games to start their season. And these are two teams that returned a lot of pieces from last year. John Tramontano does a great job with the Yellow Jackets. And so now I'm really fascinated because keep in mind, remember, Region 5 is the region with Fairview, who, of course, has been District 10 powerhouses for the last 2 or 3 years. But now you've got a couple of other teams that could really challenge them, which I find really fascinating. The other region, too, that I want everyone to keep an eye on, and I want everyone to keep an ear on these two pitchers this year. Kellen Shelton for General McLean, and for McDowell, Ethan Bechtold. These guys on the season are both 2-0. These stats, Max Preps and Go Erie's both line up. Ethan for McDowell so far, he's 2-0. What's fascinating to me, though, is that his ERA is under 1. He's got 14 strikeouts in 8 innings. Meanwhile, you look at Kellen Shelton, 24 Ks, a .57 ERA. And for General McLean, this might be the one team, and I know I'm going to sound biased because, I'm a G, but this team returns everybody, almost everybody from last season. So you've got two teams at GM and McDowell at the top of the region that are going to be really, really interesting. Keep in mind, Region 6 is a bloodbath. You've got GM, McDowell, Meadville, Harbor Creek, Prep, LaBeouf, Warren, all of these incredible teams. But those four, to me, are standing out on the baseball side. And then on softball, Fort LaBeouf continues to dominate. They're 6-0. They've crushed every team that they've played. So we are now seeing, as I think we've seen all this year, baseball and softball are mimicking the other sports where you've got a bunch of really, really stud teams that are going to really have it hard to win their district at the end of the year. But I want to keep an eye on that as the season goes along.
Awesome, man. We appreciate you. We're going to get into a truncated 2-minute drill, about a 90-second drill here as we finish up the A block. We got a loaded show for you. Rich, let's go. McDowell sophomore Oren Sarback was named District 10's top swimmer after a dominant postseason that included 4 golds and a Class 3A record on the 100-yard backstroke. He also earned Region 3 Swimmer of the Year honors. Titusville's Joe Herman and General McLean's Brody Caldwell were named Swimmers of the Year for Regions 1 and 2. Edinboro University is adding women's wrestling and golf to its NCAA Division II sports lineup this fall. Fighting Scots will compete in the PSAC with Culbertson Hills Golf Club as the home course. Edinboro becomes the 94th school with an NCAA women's wrestling program, just in time for the sport's first D2 national tournament next spring. Spencer Kane dropped a three-pointer in the final seconds to lift the West over the East, 85-82 in the boys' East-West All-Star game over the weekend. Kane scored 8, while Camden Kramer led all scorers with 19. On the girls' side, the East cruised to a 70-46 win behind 16 from Harbor Creek's Brooke Sipilski and 14 from Erie's Andrea Nevins. 6 Erie County seniors were honored for scoring 1,000-plus career points. The Erie Seawolves split their weekend series against the Chesapeake Bay Sox on Saturday. Justice Bigby hit a grand slam in an 18-2 victory, but Erie dropped the second game 4-3. Sunday's 1-0 wins featured strong pitching from Jake Miller and Garrett Burren, with Bigby providing the game's only RBI. That's it for the 90-second drill, and that was the North Shore Rewind. We'll get into some hockey talk up next. You're listening to Flagship City Sports Talk, brought to you by Quick Fill. Into Flagship City Sports Talk. Paul Adamczak here with Isaac Cash and Rich Smith. We'll have Cavs insider Sean Peebles coming up in a little bit, but first, Isaac, there was a ton of OHL news over the weekend, and I wanted to start with this. The Anaheim Ducks have signed Erie Otters captain Carey Terrance to a 3-year deal starting in 25-26. The 19-year-old center posted 52 points this season and now has 162 in his OHL career. A 2-time World Juniors gold medalist, Terrance was Anaheim's 2023 second-round pick. Incredible stuff for Terrance, who's missed time since February. Anything on Carey Terrance?
I think it's about time. I mean, you feel for this guy because he gets drafted, and the question was this year, would he come back to Erie? Would he eventually get called up to Anaheim and sign his deal maybe in the middle of the season? I think that was a big question mark that a lot of people had, and you're just excited for him. I mean, this is a guy who has a great story coming up in his upbringing and just being able to have so much success with the Otters. Of course, getting a chance to be part of the captaincy this year. I think he's such a integral part of what Erie has been in this playoff push in the last couple of seasons, and I wish him well. I think he's got the potential to be a really great superstar player, and I think as we move along here, you're going to see great things out of him. But hopefully for the Otters' sake, to get him back for the next couple of games of this playoff run here.
Would love to absolutely see that. Speaking of getting players, we'll talk playoffs in just a moment because I think that segues well into what you've got going on tomorrow night. I want to talk about the draft first. Over the weekend, the Erie Otters reloaded for the future with 15 total selections in the 2025 OHL Priority Selection Draft, headlined by Jake Murray, the 16-year-old center from the Huron-Perth Lakers, taken 12th overall by Erie. Meaford, Ontario native, notched 14 goals and 25 assists in 39 games this season in the U16 Alliance AAA League, then added 14 more points in the playoffs and OHL Cup action. So 14 points in 15 games. That was 8 goals and 6 assists. Then in the second round, Erie grabbed Tyler Cooper, high-scoring forward, another center from the Chicago Reapers. This is a 15-year-old who racked up 49 goals and 56 assists over 63 games. This guy's a lightning bolt. Other key picks included defenseman A.J. Gladman, 74th overall, forward Lyndon Cabral, 81st overall, and goalie Vaughn Barr, who was Jake Murray's teammate at Huron-Perth. They took him in the 10th round. Overall, the Otters draft netted 6 forwards, 5 defensemen, and 2 goalies in their 15 rounds. And they've got some high players to live up to. Pano Fimis, Martin Miziak, Sam Alfano, all going to graduate at the end of this year. Those guys combined for 96 goals and 229 points this past season. And like I said, they will graduate at the end of this franchise's current playoff appearance. Jake Murray and Tyler Cooper, a couple of centers, are they going to be able to replace the point production of Fimis, Miziak, Alfano, and Terrance?
Well, that's just it. I mean, you have to know that when you were going into the draft that you're losing virtually all of your top-tier centers. And so I think for those two, they're going to be expected to be able to produce right away. The thing I would say, Paul, is one of the things that I think Erie has not been afraid to do, especially in the long playoff runs when, say, Chris Knobloch was head coach. I think Chris Millette will do the same, is switching up guys who are traditional wingers to centers. I think you can get away with that more in the OHL than you can in the NHL just because of the way the game is played. But look, I mean, this time of year, you either get better and you replace players by the draft, or you do it via trade. And Erie's making a commitment and saying, look, we're going to make sure that in years to come, we don't necessarily have to make big moves, give up big draft picks. We're just going to do it via the draft. And they did that there with a couple of big centers.
Well, as you know, I'm a big draft guy, so I'm a big build through the draft. My question for you is Millette comes from that younger league. He's got a real eye for that, that age of player, and obviously some experience. He's probably coached a few of these guys or been in leagues or tournaments and all that with some of them. How much of a difference does Millette make going into that draft? Do you think his eye changed what the Otters were going to end up doing when they went away from Stan Butler? How much of an impact does Millette's experience in that area give to Erie?
I mean, I think some of it's just specific need. I mean, they were going to have to draft centers one way or another. But I think the other thing that we're seeing with Chris Millette and the Otters specifically now is more of a aggressive offensive style game that is built on forecheck and it's built on counterattack. And you have to be able to do that through your center play. You have to have guys down the middle that are capable of being able to carry the puck through the neutral zone, not commit turnovers, and either dump and chase it, or have another guy to your right or to your left to be able to create 2-on-2 and 3-and-2 situations. So really, in my opinion, in a Chris Millette-led offense, in a Chris Millette-led scheme, you have to have good center play. Because you're not a Saginaw, you're not even a London where your wingers can just fly down the zone and beat guys to the punch. You have to have good speed and good aggressiveness up front. So I think he probably did play a part in it, Paul. I think it's probably a good thing to say that, the way that his strategy is yields the need for centers. And so I think, these are going to be some guys that, whether they have played in a Chris Millette style offense or not, are going to have to adapt and conform pretty quickly. And I think if they're capable of doing that with, some of the size and ability that those two guys have.
I agree with you. And I like the idea of moving players around position-wise to find their best fit in the OHL. Murray and Cooper, the top two picks, are these two guys that we expect to play together at any point, or are they going to be like the captains of two of their lines and kind of just, as Millette is able to switch them in and out, you always have a star on the ice?
Well, one thing we've learned in this London series is that if you've got three, even maybe two incredibly skilled players, that they're capable of just blowing other guys off the ice and you're going to throw them on a line together. I think that'll be in due time. If I had to guess, I would say in year one, when these two guys hit the ice, you're going to probably have them on separate lines. I just think from a needs-based, you have to make that happen. But when it comes to future years down the road, even maybe in playoff runs, when you get into a game 5 or a game 6 in an elimination game, I would say you probably try to play them together. And again, I think that just goes back to the malleable part of things, where you can move guys around to the OHL and they still tend to find success. So I'd say for now, you put them on separate lines for needs. But man, if these two end up being stars like Erie surely hopes that they can be, it wouldn't surprise me at all if you end up seeing them on the first line together pretty soon.
Love to see it. Now let's transition from really the future Otters to the today Otters, or more accurately, the tomorrow night Otters. They're down 0-2 in the second round OHL playoff series after a 7-2 loss to the London Knights in Game 2. Sam Alfano got Erie on the board early with his 6th goal of the postseason, and Gabriel Frasca added another power play tally late in the second, but London's relentless offense took over. The Knights scored 7 goals from 6 different players, including 2 from Easton Cowan, and then outshot Erie 42-24. Goalie Noah Erdelin left with a mask issue, giving way to Charlie Burns in his OHL playoff debut. Erie also lost center Martin Mijak to injury in that game. Game 3 tomorrow night at the Erie Insurance Arena. And Isaac, you've got a pregame special on tap, correct?
Yes, we do. I can actually show the graphic right now. We are back at the Erie Insurance Arena tomorrow. Nick Gartman and I and a couple of other guests will join you live from the EIA for Game 3. We did this in the first round a couple of weeks ago, and it was a wonderful experience. So great always to be inside that building. Energy is going to be tremendous. So join us live in person. You can join us inside the Erie Insurance Arena at 6 o'clock for our show, or you can join us virtually. Then come to the game, folks. Erie needs it. It's going to be a heck of an energetic crowd. Sweet Caroline's going to be playing every other second. And really, what's now a must-win game for the Otters in Game 3. So join us 6 o'clock for the show, 7 o'clock for the face-off. Can't wait to be back in there tomorrow, Nick. It's going to be so much fun.
Am I correct in saying that when you've been at the EIA doing a pregame show, the Otters are 2-0? Is that right?
I wish. They're 1-1. So Nick and I joked that we were the bad luck for Erie. It was the one game in the series in round 1 that they didn't play well. So suffice it to say, though, if the pattern continues, right, win-loss, we're in store for a good game tomorrow. So that's the reviewing it for tomorrow night.
All right. So also talking about tomorrow night, we've got another minute or so here, 2 minutes. Martin Mijak went down in Game 2. Do you have any information on his availability for Game 3? And also, Terrance, you mentioned he might be back tomorrow. And how about Matthew Schaefer? Is he done? Did they shut him down officially?
Yeah, so we have no idea. I unfortunately haven't really gotten into the in-depths of the practice. I have no idea. From what I hear, Terrance and Schaefer are potentially close. Whether that means they're available for tomorrow or whether they're not available for the series, I don't know. I think for Martin Mijak, it's certainly a big loss for Erie. But I will say this, Paul, regardless of who they have in the lineup, if they continue to fail to stop the Easton Cohen, Denver Barkey, and Sam O'Reilly line, they're not going to win this series. Easton Cohen had another great game in game number 2. Denver Barkey has had multiple point games in both the first 2 games. And that it goes back to what I was saying with being able to put three guys on a line that are unstoppable. Right now, Nate Stoddard and Ty Henry, who were great in the first round series against Saginaw, against the Michael Misa line, they have not been able to stop the Barkey Cohen and O'Reilly line whatsoever. And so I think what has to happen in game 3, you have to play better defensively. And if you're Chris Millette with last change, you are going to have to ensure that you get your best defensive guys in terms of defense and forwards on the ice against that top line. London has killed them in the series. They forced turnovers at the blue line a bunch. Erie just has to be more disciplined. They're shooting themselves in the foot a bunch. They had 6 power plays in game 2. They only scored on 2 of them. And I think if you're Erie, one of the things that you're going to really have, 7 power plays, I should say, they only scored on 2 of them. And so if you're the Otters, you're going to have to take advantage of your opportunities, and you just can't make self-inflicting wounds and mistakes. I think they got a good shot to win the game tomorrow night, but they have to, because realistically, if they don't win home, it's going to be a tough series.
That's it. Tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, EIA. Once again, Isaac's going live at 6. All right, when we get back, we'll talk Cleveland Cavaliers with Sean Pebbles on the eve of the NBA playoffs. You're listening to Flagship City Sports Talk, brought to you by QuickFill. Welcome back, Erie, into Flagship City Sports Talk. Paul Adams, Zach Rich Smith, Isaac Petcash is on the interweb, and we've got Sean Pebbles in studio to talk some Cavs. Sean,
good morning.
Thank you for coming in.
Yes.
Watching a little bit of the Cavs game last night. Unfortunate loss in double overtime to the Pacers, who, by the way, the Cavs are 1-3 against this season.
Mm-hmm.
They're up by 23 points in the fourth quarter. They lose in double overtime. We joked a little bit off air. They were basically playing season ticket holders last night. Jarrett Allen played 1 minute, took one 3-point shot, missed it, but did have an assist.
That's
and then
correct.
He was out.
And one foul.
And one foul.
Yes.
Okay, I missed that too.
Yeah, he fouled. That's how he got out of the game. So,
fair enough.
Yeah, but we knew he was going to do that solely because he wanted to get all 82 in for the season. Like
okay, well that was my first question. I was like, was this like a contract thing or just I want to play all 82?
He wanted to be part of all 82.
That's awesome.
So kudos to him for accomplishing that.
Absolutely.
And also, I saw that there was actually a number of players that did that this season. Chris Paul.
Yes.
Was actually another one that also played in all 82.
Yes.
At his age and his time in the league, that's impressive.
That is incredible.
That's huge.
And I saw Bub Carrington of Pitt played all 82 games. The only rookie to play all 82 and then hit that wild game winner right at the end to end the rookie season.
That's right.
I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, good for him. Yep.
Yeah, dude. Okay, let's talk some Cavs. They finished the year 64-18. Should have been 65-17. Let's be honest.
Could have been a lot better than that. They had some other ones that got away from them, but it happens.
It happens. Number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. First time the Cavs have done that without LeBron James. Third time the team has won 60 games in a season. First time since 09-10. Best offensive rating in the NBA, 122 points per game. That's first. Top 3-point shooting in the NBA, 38.5%. Again, that's first. And they end the season with a defensive rating of 8th overall. Talk to me about this Cavs team as we head into the playoffs. They're finally healthy for once. We have, let's see, we mentioned Jarrett Allen. He was out a little bit last year. Obviously, Donovan Mitchell. Garland had the jaw issue last year. I think everybody's good. Mitchell's back practicing. Karis LeVert is back practicing. We are full board for coming up into the playoffs, right?
Well, Karis LeVert is with Atlanta.
Who did I read? I might have read that wrong.
Yeah, maybe Darius Garland. You mentioned Darius. You mentioned Donovan. You mentioned Jarrett.
Yeah, that's who I meant. Was Garland?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Darius. Health is obviously going to be very important. And Donovan tweaked his ankle a couple games ago, so he's been kind of guarded, just to kind of get that right before we head into next week.
The internet tells me that he's practicing fully and that they were resting him.
I was actually watching him do shoot around yesterday before the game.
Okay.
Yeah. So
the internet is accurate this time.
Very accurate. Yes.
Okay, cool.
Don't believe everything, but you can believe some things.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So the play-in tournament starts tomorrow. I'm looking at 7, 8, 9, 10 play-in games.
Mm-hmm.
The winner of the Bulls-Heat game, which is the 9-10, plays the loser of the Magic-Hawks game, which is the 7-8, to determine the 8th seed. Who would the Cavs most like to see? Who would they least like to see?
Historically, they've always had their things with Miami, especially in playing down there. Even in the Braun era, I think they lost like 22 straight in Miami or something like that. So lately, obviously, they've been able to play much better down there. Chicago, you don't know really what you're going to get with them, with Kobe White and Josh Giddey and everything.
Hot and cold.
Orlando, Cleveland's very familiar with Orlando because they had that 7-game series last year in the playoffs. And, Cleveland won that series, and Orlando actually was kind of like the start of the Cavs' longest losing streak of the season. They lost at home to Orlando. Then they went out west, and they lost to the Clippers. They lost to Sacramento. They lost to Phoenix. Then they went on to win in Utah and then in Portland and came back home. But and then Atlanta's Atlanta. I mean, they have Trae Young, and they do have, you mentioned Karis LeVert earlier, and they also have George Niang, who was part of the deal for DeAndre Hunter, Clint Capella. I mean, Atlanta, again, just another one of those teams that if they get hot, they can be dangerous, just like Miami showed a couple years ago as an 8th seed, and they went all the way to the NBA Finals. So I as far as if I had to choose one,
use your fan brain. Who do you want to see? Who scares you?
I would say Atlanta would probably be the one I'd be the most uneasy about of the 4.
Oh, okay.
And only because I think Miami is, with everything that happened with Jimmy Butler this year, they just seem to be not quite the Heat that we've been used to seeing over the last few years, but they do have that Heat culture. They do have Coach Spoelstra,
Right.
so they can definitely make things happen. I don't want to see Orlando again. We kind of been there, done that, and
Okay.
so I would say Chicago is the one I would, if I could choose.
Yeah.
Out of these four of a team to actually play, I would say Chicago. The one I would want to probably stay the furthest away from would be Atlanta.
Okay, interesting. I see. I'm sort of like, I would like to see the Magic just to kind of rub it in their faces a little bit. Like last year, like you got lucky. This year, we're a different team. Like we're at full strength. So I kind of want that, bury the hatchet. Kind of let's put that series behind us, bury them, confidence going forward.
Well, which is good for the Cavs because they did that with Orlando. I don't think they really need to bury the hatchet because they already buried them last year in the playoffs. Just like the other night when they played in New York, it was kind of like another one of those games that for Cleveland really meant virtually nothing, against the Knicks. But some of the guys from the Cavs that were on that roster a few years ago when New York bounced Cleveland from the playoffs, now that was a bury the hatchet type of game. Late in the season, and Darius Garland just took over. Jared Allen took over. I mean, the guys just responded and put it to them in Madison Square Garden. Plus, that also solidified the fact that the Knicks had lost to all three top teams in the league this year.
Yeah,
Boston, Cleveland, and Oklahoma City. Like they went
I read
winless.
that too.
Yeah,
they're 0-8 against the top seeds.
That's right. And I don't think Cleveland wanted to have that on them. So I think there's a number of things that went into that game against the Knicks. But the Orlando thing, we've kind of been there, done that. So we'll let them kind of focus on other things, and we'll see how that goes. Now, if Atlanta ends up playing, they win that game, and now they go to Boston, and that could be very interesting. So,
well, I was going to save the Boston talk, but Boston is obviously everybody's. I say everybody. You get to the Eastern Conference Finals. However you get there, whoever you have to see. Boston is obviously the one that everybody's looking at against the Cavaliers. Now, had a good record against them this season. Didn't win every game. Didn't lose every game. So it's kind of be a back and forth. How do we match up with Boston? What scares you the most? I know the defensive presence of Allen and Mobley is going to be good from a rim protecting perspective. But the guards, the wings, the size on the outside, I think is probably where the Cavs come up short. And that literally, pun not intended there. But Jason Tatum and Brown kind of overmatched the Cavs on the wing. After the All-Star break, again, I mentioned the Cavs are the number one three-point shooting team in the league, but post All-Star break, that dipped like 11%. So is that a concern going against Boston? What scares you most about Boston? I
don't think that's a concern. And anybody that's going to go up against Boston is going to have one thing in mind, and that is the perimeter shooting, the three-point shooting, because they set a league record this year for I think most attempts or whatever.
Probably both.
Yeah, and it's kind of like that live by it, die by it type of mentality.
Yep.
And by no means do myself or other Cavs fans want to look ahead to a potential clash with Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals. We still got 2 rounds before we get to that. But that is the one thing about Boston I think anybody needs to be concerned about, because they love to chuck it up. They absolutely love to shoot threes. And you mentioned Brown and Tatum, and you also got Derek White, you got Peyton Pritchard, even Al Horford, can light it up, and you got Sam Hauser. All these guys can light it up from deep in Boston. That's how that's a lot of their bread and butter.
Yeah.
So that's obviously probably the concern with them. I'm not really worried about a size to size type thing, especially since they picked up the likes of DeAndre Hunter and even Javonte Green they just picked up. And Chumo KK is another one of those perimeter defender guys that we're going to be able to really utilize if necessary in those situations. And you also got lockdown guys like Isaac Okoro, Dean Wade. Defensively, I'm not concerned about the matchup. The only thing is that you could probably give Boston a little bit of a nod for is their 3-point, I don't want to call it efficiency, but their rate that they like to shoot the three. But we'll worry about that later. Right now, we'll kind of let these games play out this week in the play-in and see who Cleveland opens with on Sunday at home.
I was just going to ask, 17th is it's Sunday, the 20th.
The 20th, yep.
Boy, open up on Easter. Isaac, what say you?
I'm curious because last year, of course, we saw the Orlando series go to 7 games, and then you get to the later rounds in the playoffs, and it seemed like a team that was nearly there, but just was missing maybe 1 or 2 pieces, whether that was players or strategy. What, from your experience last year being on the floor, what is the 1 or 2 things you think the Cavs may have this year that they didn't necessarily have last year, whether it's personnel, whether it's strategy, whether it's execution, that you think can get them over that little threshold that they didn't get over last year?
All of those, and then I'll add one more to the list, and that's health. Because when they went into the Boston series, I mean, they came out of the Orlando series literally limping. I mean, they lost Jared Allen. Mitchell was banged up and didn't play much. He played a couple games in the Boston series. And you're still having Dean Wade deal with injuries. Darius was still not 100% for everything he went through last year. So all those things you mentioned, Isaac, are accurate in regards to strategy and planning and execution and things like that. But the most important element will be the health of the guys. And I think they've done a tremendous job with maintaining that this year. And let's also not lose sight on the fact they've got a pretty good coach. And not to discredit Coach Bickerstaff, because you see what he's done in Detroit this year. But Coach Kenny, man, oh man, oh man, this is an absolutely just special thing to watch for him being in Cleveland for one season and what they've been able to accomplish under his leadership.
What do you think the biggest change under Coach Atkinson has been? A roster with an average age of 25 years old. What's he done to turn this core into an offensive juggernaut?
Well, I think they already were an offensive juggernaut, but getting that year of experience, the extra year last year in the playoffs, and the disappointment against Boston, but then also realizing how close they were. Again, going back to the health thing. I mean, if you have Mitchell and Allen and Darius, 90 to 95% healthy going into that series against Boston last year, we could be having a different conversation. It could be a different NBA champ last year, but that's just not the way it goes. That's how sports is. But Coach, he said when he came in, I have everything I need here. I just have to give it an extra push. And he's done just that. I mean, they always say culture is everything. You see it, with the guys on how they look after one another. They care about one another. They want to see each other succeed. It's not one above the rest. It's a team effort from top to bottom of the roster. And I think a lot of that really carries into the success that this team's experienced this year.
I love it, man. Playoffs coming up Sunday. What's the one matchup or moment you're most excited to see when they tip off?
Just being in the building, just getting all the anticipation leading up to this, clinching the division, clinching the top seed in the East, and now officially being done with the regular season. Now we can really dig in and get to work. And I truly, truly cannot wait to get there on Sunday for game one, because there's the playoff experience there has always been magical over the years. And now with where we are and who we have and what this team's identity is, that they're exclusively them now, that this city is on fire for this team. And I'm just ready to show up and show out, just bring the electricity, bring the energy, and it's going to be great.
Cleveland sports has had a good last 10 days or so. I saw they went 6-0 against like all Chicago sports in the last couple of days. So they are on fire. The Gardos are on fire.
Lost a tough one yesterday.
But overall,
it's been good.
They've won more than they've lost.
That's right.
Is there another matchup that you're watching in the NBA outside of the Cavs, something that you want to keep an eye on, or just a team that you're interested in just to see how they go?
Detroit, New York.
Okay.
Without question, in the East is going to be an amazing series, because we go back to what Coach Bickerstaff has done in Detroit with taking that team with Cade and Jalen Duren and all the other guys that he has there, and establishing that type of culture there. Detroit deserves to be where they are, and I'm super excited for them. And New York, being who they are, that's going to be such a fun series to sit back and watch, just as a fan of the game, just to see how that goes. And then the West is wide open. Everybody's talking OKC this, OKC that.
Yeah.
It's going to be
you disagree.
It's going to be an absolute dogfight. I don't care if it's a play-in or the Western Final. The Western Conference is going to be a fight. It's going to be great to watch.
Awesome. Last question, real quick. You get to pick one player to take a last shot in Game 7. Who is it?
Darius Garland.
There you go. He coming back for the last segment?
Yep.
Awesome. Overreaction Monday coming up next. You're listening to Flagship City Sports Talk, brought to you by Quick Fill. Overreaction Monday, where Isaac comes up with, we'll say, a hot take. He just takes a side of the fence, and we decide then if it's an overreaction or not an overreaction. So I will throw it to Isaac. He can give his opener and then his first overreaction statement, or his kids. They can give them too.
You know what? Bennett's been wanting to be on the show for a while, so I think I just heard him. He gave me my overreaction here, and it's only appropriate, Sean. You'd love this. He's wearing a Cavs shirt, so
Let's go. Let's go.
Start there. We absolutely have to. So let's do this. Paul, you appropriately mentioned Cleveland and Boston in the conference final, and I know we don't want to think about that, or we don't want to get there yet. You still got 2 rounds before that. I'm going to go on a limb. And the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to make the conference final, and their opponent is not going to be Boston.
Oh.
Somebody besides the Celtics is going to make the Eastern Conference final. I actually think I know who it's going to be, but I'll leave it to you guys to tell me whether that's an overreaction or not.
You were the guy on this one.
I mean, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier with the situation with the shooting thing. They can shoot themselves into the conference final. They can shoot themselves out of the conference final. I mean, I lean that way, but if I had to say that it's going to be something different, I would lean towards Detroit, honestly.
Interesting. I'm looking at the Detroit, the Pistons, the 6th seed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, interesting. So that would be a second round matchup.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say overreaction. I think the Celtics are just too talented to not make the conference finals. I think the Cavs can play with them, and I think it's a heck of a series. But I don't think any of those teams take out the Celtics before the Cavs get the opportunity to do so. Is that fair?
It's interesting because Sean made a really good point with Detroit, because that was one of the teams I was looking at. I actually think Indiana's a lot better than what people give them credit for. I think the Pacers would give a couple of teams a run for their money. Sean may or may not like that.
I don't.
Fair. But I also think, to me, I think they get favorable matchups, at least in the first round. And I think you could see one of those 2 teams. Detroit's a good pick, though. Again, young teams, as we saw last year with Orlando and Cleveland, and the Magic giving the Cavs a run for their money, despite the injuries. You never know. They don't know what they don't know. And I think Detroit could be a really interesting team as well. Okay, I'm gonna stick on the Cavs train because, of course, with playoffs coming up starting this weekend, and I'm going to go internal to the team here because I think we talk a lot about the way that Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland have been able to gel themselves together and become this really great dynamic duo. And, of course, we saw when the Cavs won the title a few years back that it was James and Kyrie Irving and the way that they were able to play together. I think by the end of this playoff run, when all is said and done, Cleveland will consider Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell a better duo than LeBron James and Kyrie Irving.
That's an eye-opener. I'm going to say overreaction, too. I don't know if Cleveland will ever like anyone better than LeBron James until someone wins a Super Bowl with the Browns. And since that's not happening this millennia, I'm going to say it's an overreaction. They probably already like them more than they like Kyrie Irving. I don't think that's an overreaction, but more than LeBron, I don't know, man. Come on.
I don't know. I might have to disagree with that just because of the fact that I think the Cleveland fans have so long wanted to have this franchise from out of underneath the shadow, as they like to call it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think they like with what this team has done and being a more complete unit. So I think the combination of Darius and Donovan with the success they've had and the success that they have coming up over the horizon, I think very well could take that over eventually as the all-time best duo. And Isaac, just to kind of touch on duos, another critical duo that's really going to be pivotal in the success of this team and the run through the postseason is the ones of Ty Jerome and DeAndre Hunter, without question.
Which one, this is an overreaction, Sean, but they're both up for 6th man of the year. Which one would you think probably deserves it more? I know Ty's been there the whole year. DeAndre was come via trade. Which one do you think deserves to win the award most?
That's a great question.
That is a very you hate to even lean one way or another.
Yeah.
I would have to go with DeAndre only because of his length, especially on both ends of the floor. Ty is a good defender, but I think DeAndre is a, I don't want to call him a better defender, but he is. especially because of his length and the reason
his
why
size,
because he was brought in the position that he plays in that stretch three. And Ty just his creativity and the way that he makes plays happen on the offensive end is just a thing of beauty. And DeAndre can get to the rim. He can shoot it long and just like Ty can. But I think if I had to give the edge, it would definitely be from it would go to DeAndre, especially because of the way he covers the defensive end of the floor too.
Two gentlemen made to be Cavaliers for life. I like it. I'm a big fan. I like your thinking, Sean, with Donovan and Darius. All right, Sean, I know you were busy yesterday. Paul said he didn't. Did you catch any of the end of the Masters?
It's funny because we took my stepdaughter and her boyfriend to the game yesterday, and he has this thing on his phone, like that 360 thing, or like you can track things. And so you get like a summary whenever you get to your destination. And my drive was considered risky because of the speed. Like I was literally watching, I was keeping an eye. I didn't touch my phone, but I had it on my holder on the dash and I had the leaderboard up. So I was watching things kind of happen. And I know it really wasn't real time. We pulled in the driveway with, I think Roy was going to 16. And because I already saw that he had the collapse on 13. And I'm like, oh no. And then just watched it all happen. I'm not joking. And I did a post on Facebook. It was like onions. It was straight onions in my house. Like my wife and I both, we love golf and we love the story of these guys, and Rory's story is exceptional. And knowing what he's been through and just watching that happen for him yesterday when he fell on the green, like that was raw. That was real. And I got goosebumps right now. We cried, man. That was cinema TV, man. That was so good to watch.
I can't even imagine a feeling like that. The weight it lifted off your shoulders, and he looked 10 years younger walking off the green. So that brings me to this. I look at the rest of the major schedule. I think to myself, Oakmont doesn't have trees. That plays into his favor. The Open is literally in his own backyard. Rory McIlroy is going to win at least 2 more majors this year.
I will give him one of those, Isaac. I will give him the Open in Ireland without question.
I think he could win. I know we're going to overreact to everything. I think he could win both. All 3. I think he could win the PGA. I think he could also win the U.S. Open and then the Open. But I just the courses that are in play are going to play to his advantage.
Is he the greatest golfer of the post-Tiger generation?
Well, we said that about Scotty last year. So, I mean, I think now that he's got all 4, I think that with that weight gone, Sean, and you tell me if you think I'm wrong, I think he just plays freely now. I think you're going to see a totally different golfer that's at a totally different level.
I would. That is definitely not an overreaction. That is spot on, true. But it can also maybe take a little edge off of him because he has been trying to prove, himself and all the critics and everything, right? So it can have golf is such a mental game. Yeah. And now that he's he cried the tears on 18 yesterday at Augusta, and now he's going to be in a different mindset, where he feels like I don't have much to prove to myself or to the writers or to all these other critics. We'll see. But I would agree that he's definitely going to make a run at Portrush and Ireland for sure this July.
Awesome, man. Thank you guys all so much. That's all for us this morning. Special thanks to our guest, Sean Peebles. Erie, thank you for joining us today. My name's Paul Adamzak, and I'm signing off for Isaac Petcash and Rich Smith. Make sure to check out the Gem City Sports Podcast Network throughout the week. I've got a new episode of the Draft Podcast dropping later. Have a great Monday. Go Cavs, and we'll see y'all next time.
Let them know.